Welcome to the channel. Tonight we'll explore real Halloween stories shared by Reddit users, eerie encounters that can't easily be explained. Turn down the lights, get comfortable, and let's begin with our first story. One day my family came home from a trip to the zoo. I was completely exhausted and decided to take a nap. My cousin wanted to play with my PS3, so I let him use my room and went to sleep in my parents' room instead. I lay down on the bed, facing the bathroom door. As I was starting to drift off, I saw someone with short black hair and a white t-shirt walk into the bathroom. I didn't see the face, but I was sure it was my dad. A few minutes went by. No sounds, no running water, no flushing, nothing. "Dad, are you there?" I called out. No answer. Then the bed started to shake. At first I thought maybe the dog had crawled underneath, scratching herself and moving the bed, but when I leaned over the edge to look, nothing. I was completely alone. I sat up in the center of the bed, my heart beginning to race. The bed shook again. Harder. That was enough. I stood up and quickly walked downstairs. In the kitchen, everyone was there, laughing, chatting. No one was wearing a white shirt. I told my dad what happened, and he laughed it off. Said I must have been dreaming. A week later, my sister came over to visit. My dad, still joking about the story, told me to share it with her, expecting her to laugh too. So I did. But when I finished, she didn't laugh. Her face went pale. She said, "Wait, someone with short black hair and a white shirt." Then she told us something that made the room go completely silent. A few months earlier, when she was staying over, she had seen the exact same figure. She was trying to fall asleep in the guest bedroom when she noticed someone standing in the doorway. The figure was backlit. She could only see the outline of the shoulders and the hair. She thought it was our dad and said, "What? What are you looking at?" No answer. Irritated, she told him to leave her alone. And the figure slowly walked away. When she told us that, my dad stopped smiling. None of us talked about it again. If that story gave you chills, this next one takes us from a haunted home to a forgotten house at the edge of a small town, a place people swore was cursed. Back in the 1980s, I had relatives in a small town called Island Pond. We visited often and would walk from one house to some nearby apartments on Hillside Terrace to see our cousins. The walk was long but peaceful, surrounded by tall trees and old homes, except for one. On the corner of Mountain Street and Curran Avenue stood an abandoned, rotting house. We used to call it the Haunted House. It had a sagging porch, an overgrown lawn, and a window covered with boards, except for two knot holes that looked like eyes. Once, one of us dared to step through the tall grass, only to find a dead cat near the steps. None of us ever got that close again. The front faced Mountain Street, and the side faced Curran Avenue. At the time, there were no houses across the street, just open space, and that one house. One evening, my brother, my mom, and I were walking past it when she suddenly stopped dead. Her eyes were fixed on the upstairs window of the house across the street. I looked up and saw it too. A dim yellow light glowing from an upstairs window. The silhouette of a woman, sitting, brushing her hair. But that house had been abandoned for years. The three of us froze. Then our brains caught up to what we were seeing, and we ran. We didn't stop until we reached my aunt's apartment. The next morning, in the bright daylight, we decided to check again. We told ourselves there had to be a logical explanation. Maybe someone moved in. But when we reached the corner again, everything looked the same. Nothing had changed. No tracks, no movement, no sign of life. We turned down Curran Avenue to look up at the window again. And that's when I felt the blood drain from my body. The window, the one where we'd seen the woman brushing her hair, was completely boarded up. We never walked that way again. More than 30 years later, that memory still sends chills down my spine. Thank you for listening to these true Halloween stories from Reddit. If you've ever had an experience you can't explain, a shadow, a sound, or something that just didn't feel right, share it in the comments below. You might just hear your story in our next episode. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and keep your lights on.